JB, good to see you, brother. How you doing? Evening. How you been? How's your Saturday, brother? How are you, brother? I'm doing great. Billo, good to see you as well. How you doing? Dennis, good to see you as well. How you doing, brother? Good evening, Professor Miles and the rest of the team. Let's go, funky brother. How you doing? Great, busy. How was your day? Extremely busy as well. Busy and stressful. So many things are happening. That's why markets are depressing to look at the moment. Well, these are the type of markets everybody wants. Everybody wants the prices to be lower, and the prices are lower. If anybody thought they missed out on any sort of projects, well, now's your time to not miss out again. But this is only a temporary phrase. What's happening inside the market right now is temporarily. XRP news, yes, we do. We do have Ripple news to go from tonight's live show. We have 2 or 3 Ripple news to go from tonight's live show. Market, Evening Miles and CMF. Joe, good to see you as well. How you doing? I'm sure. Don't be stressed. Don't be too stressed, lol. I'm sure. Don't be too stressed, lol. Yeah, no. XRP news, yes. We have 3 Ripple news to go through. Greetings from Hot Las Vegas. Let's go where Donald Trump will appear Sunday at 12 noon. Let's go, Leroy. Leroy, how you doing? How you been? Good day, brother. Dale, good to see you. So, how you doing? How you been? So, I'll do a gist of what we're going to talk about tonight's live show. And by that time, everyone's tuned in after the intro and the disclaimer. So, on tonight's live show, we are going to be talking about the American crypto advocacy regarding milestones that's happening right now in terms of Coinbase and the United States. We're also going to be talking about on tonight's live show regarding the former Ripple director who's came out and said that Ripple should stop making new accusations once again. We're also going to talk about the 2024 election and how the influence is going to be on the SEC stance on crypto policies, and it's a perspective coming from consensus. We're also going to be talking about tonight's live show regarding South Korea and about 7 out of 10 failed Korean crypto exchanges. Quite a lot of exchanges did essentially go bankrupt in Korea, crypto exchanges. We're also going to talk about tonight's live show regarding Arkham Labs and how Arkham Labs Arkham Labs came out with the data that the United States government seized quite a lot of money from FTX and Alameda Research, but they never give it back because essentially FTX is supposed to be refunding people. But the US government kept the cryptocurrencies they took from them. We're going to go through that as well. We're going to go through also the MiCA regulations that's happening in the EU. Quite a lot of things that came out, some interesting perspectives. We're also going to be talking about tonight's live show regarding the end of cash in Europe. The end of cash in Europe. We're also going to be talking about on tonight's live show regarding the Ripple. Essentially, Ripple might have something essentially big brewing in Georgia. There's some rumors coming out of Georgia, and some images, some pictures, and some meetings that are coming out from Ripple and Georgia's government and their national bank, essentially. We're also going to talk about tonight's live show regarding Binance and how they've reached a massive milestone in terms of users. 200 million users right now are within Binance, which is ridiculous to think about it. The crypto space is about about 500 million people inside the whole world that are inside the crypto space. 200 million of those people have Binance accounts. It's an amazing milestone for Binance, and it definitely shows that their new CEOs are definitely turning the tables on Binance. We're also going to be talking about Australia as well. Massive event happening, a crypto event happening in Australia as well to go through on tonight's live show. We're also going to be talking about investors regarding BTC, corporate investors. There's a lot of things happening right now inside the crypto space that too many people or anyone inside the crypto space is not aware of. Everybody's looking at the market downtrend. Some are looking at essentially good bouts of bullish news today, Mouse. We do have bullish news, and this is one of them as well, which we'll go through towards the end of the live show. But a lot of people are looking at what's happening in the market in terms of the downtrend and so on. Some people are looking at it as a buying opportunity. Some people don't want to look at the market space right now. But there's something major brewing behind the scenes, and the data is there to prove it, which is a lot of exchanges are essentially they're losing their assets because a lot of people are pulling their assets from exchanges. And the people that are pulling it are corporates. Corporates are pulling their essentially their assets from exchanges. When they put it on the exchanges, that means they want to sell. And right now, with the downtrend of the market, the corporates are actually pulling their crypto assets away from the exchanges. We'll go through that and explain what I mean exactly by that, but that is extremely bullish. We're also going to be going through a BTC ETF, regarding BTC ETFs and their inflows, despite how the market is playing out. So despite how the market is right now, again, there's a lot of things brewing in the sidelines, which I'll explain when we get to that news. Also, BitGo's CEO has came out with essentially a prediction from his perspective of where the market is headed, and his perspective is the market is headed sky high. Basically, what we're in right now is a temporary stage, and he's essentially going sky high. But we're also going to talk about BlackRock as well in tonight's live show because, once again, even in markets like this, BlackRock is doing absolute crazy milestones. So quite a bit of bullish news to go through, some data news to go through as well, and some information that you should know if you're inside the crypto space, and EU news and CBDC news to go through on tonight's live show as well, and some pro-crypto political news as well to go through on tonight's live show. But that's all the things we're going to be going through on tonight's live show. But before we go through any of that, we'll do the intro, disclaimer, and then comment section, and then first news by that time everyone's tuned in for the first part of the live show. So, welcome to the CMF live show. If you're watching this for the first time ever, on this live show I talk about recent news that's happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrencies. I talk in terms of cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, regulations, politics, AI, and we also do Q&As as well, which means you ask the questions inside the comment sections and I give you the answers, and I read everybody's comments one by one. And the disclaimer of this live show, as always, is not financial advice, not political advice, and whatever I say is only for entertainment purposes. So welcome to the CMF live show if you are new, and if you're regular, let's go CMF. Now, before we go through the first news, let's go inside the comment section first. I'll be honest with you, Miles, I cannot wait for the second bull run to start. Let's go, funky brother. Hey, Miles, it is brewing right now. Hey, Miles and CMF, hope we have positive news tonight. We do. Towards the end, we have quite a bit of positive news to go through. Hi, Miles and family. Troy, good to see you. How you doing? Good, but of bullish news today, Miles. George, how you doing? Hi, Miles and CMF. Let's go. Good evening, Miles and CMF. Orphan, good to see you as well. How you doing? Good evening, Miles and CMF. Free Forever, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? This case takes way too long for nothing. There is nothing to wait about, pretty much. Carol, good to see you, brother. How you doing? Before I just give the first news, I mean, everybody wanted. We'll do the first news and I'll tell you that in the middle. So, the first news to go from tonight's live show is regarding the American Crypto Advocacy. The American Crypto Advocacy is basically a group of people that are coming together, including politicians, to make essentially the United States a much more crypto-friendly place. Well, they've just done a new milestone. The American Crypto Advocacy movement tops a massive milestone of 1 million supporters. The United States Crypto Industry Advocacy Movement, Stand With Crypto, has hit a milestone in their terms of active supporters. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong reported that 1 million people have joined the Stand With Crypto as an advocate for industry, adding that there are lots of voters. He continued to state that 600,000 of these advocates joined after the White House veto threat, and thousands mobilized around the back-to-back historic and wins in the House and Senate. Crypto's momentum for pro-crypto policies in America has never been stronger, is what Brian Armstrong said. US crypto support grows. The comments came in reference to the Biden administration attempting to block the Republican crypto legislations that would enable banks to custody their assets for clients. However, things have gone in favor for the industry recently regarding the FIT21 Act that was passed but isn't fully in law yet. The Stand With Crypto Alliance, an advocacy organization focused on mobilizing the crypto community to directly engage in legislative processes, was launched by Coinbase in August 2023 in response to the increasingly heavy-handed enforcement actions from regulators. It surpassed 1 million supporters, which is quite a number, with a figure standing at 1 million and plus at the time of writing. It also has held $87 million donated by crypto supporters to further its cause. Commenting on the potential voters in November US presidential elections, Brian Armstrong said it's much bigger voting bloc than most people probably would have anticipated. Armstrong added that the surge in the group's membership was fueled by frustration over Biden's administration of veto and the strong support for the FIT21 bill. Now, speaking to retainers, they said, I think that it's just bad politics to be anti crypto. There's no voter that you're winning over by doing that, but you are upsetting a huge number of Americans who used this technology regarding blockchain technology. Big donations for pro crypto candidates. The crypto industry is spending tens of millions of dollars in this year's election to boost friendly candidates against those who are against it. On June 3rd, Coinbase essentially announced $25 million donation, which Ripple announced as well $25 million. ZK announced $25 million donations. Kraken is also doing donations as well. But yeah, new milestone essentially reached. Coinbase made the announcement that there are about 1 million people. Most of those people are politicians. And obviously we know how politicians are with donations. It's how they pay their bills, with donations. But it is absolutely a milestone that this many people, or this many voters and this many politicians are coming together in favor of cryptocurrencies, which is a good sign. We're trying to see that adoption rate, and it's happening. Now, is their votes going to matter? Is another scenario, but either way, the world's going to go digital. Former Ripple director urges company to make a new acquisition. Is what we're going to go next on tonight's live show regarding the news. So a former Ripple director has came out and said that Ripple should be getting ready to make their next investment. They have millions to billions on their assets that are ready to essentially pounce on the project as another partnership or make an acquisition. The same way they brought out Metico to do another movement like that is what a former Ripple director is right now tweeting about, which we'll go through his perspective. But before we go through that, let's go start the conversation first. Good evening, CMF. Joe's good to see you. How you doing? Hyper Sniper, good to see you. How you doing? Jason, evening, Miles, and CMF, good to see you as well. Good evening, Miles. I hope you're well, mate. And hi to all the CMF. Let's go, Addy. How you doing? How you been? So, former Ripple director urges company to make a new acquisition. Former director of Ripple, Sean McBridge, has published a post on X social media network to suggest a move that Ripple Labs should make using large funds it has in its possession. Ripple should invest, build, and repeat. McBridge believes that it is now important for Ripple to acquire another company and spend on it some of the money it is sitting on. Reinvest, build, and repeat. He tweeted out an encouragement addressing his former blockchain giant employer. Ripple needs to acquire another company. Spend some of that money instead of sitting on it for no apparent reason. Reinvest, build, and repeat is essentially what he kept on saying. Earlier this year, McBridge tweeted out that Ripple has tons of capital. Recently, the San Francisco fintech behemoth secured several important new partnerships. One of them essentially was in Japan, when Ripple announced a new tie with specialized consulting company Hashkey DEX. By the way, Hashkey DX is also the companies behind the Bitcoin ETFs in Hong Kong. Based in Tokyo, Japan, the second partnership was inked by Ripple with a payment provider's Clear Junction based in UK. The goal was about to boost the efficiency and securities of payments in pounds and sterlings and in euros, which we went through on tonight's live show, which we went through on this live show as well about a few nights ago. But Ripple shovels 150 million XRP on Friday, June 7th. The Ripple behemoth was spotted transferring a massive 150 million XRP coins to unregistered blockchain. To unregistered blockchain wallet. The data about the transfer, essentially worth $78+ million in fiat, was shared essentially in the cryptocurrency community by the popular crypto tracking service Whale Alert. This staggering transfer raised eyebrows, and many made XRP fans leave questions as they're guessing in the comments to what is happening and what could be the reason behind this sizable XRP transaction. Some were wondering if Ripple began to sell some of its XRP holdings, or are they making a new investment, or are they paying off the SEC? Here's the thing. Ripple sells off XRP essentially only to reinvest into Ripple Labs. Are they selling off to pay the SEC? Most likely not. Are they doing it to sell off because they're going to be reinvesting into XRP, essentially reinvesting into XRP Ledger and so on? Yes, that's exactly what they're doing. Highly doubtful they're doing it to pay off Gary Gensler. If they are, great, but they're most likely just paying it off essentially to reinvest into Ripple, which either way is bullish anyways. But yeah, Ripple's former director essentially coming out and saying that from his perspective point of view, he was the director of Ripple. He said that Ripple is sitting on quite a lot of money right now, and in his perspective, Ripple's about to make another move in acquiring another company. Knowing Ripple, they're probably going to acquire a company that has multiple licensings. So it opens up more doors for them, which is great. Now, 2024. 2024 election may influence SEC's stance on crypto policies. The 2024 elections may influence SEC's stance on crypto policies, says Consensus, the Council of Consensus. Lawmakers have pushed for regulatory clarity at the SEC, and the Commission has approved the spot Ether ETFs. So far, the upcoming 2024 elections may influence how the US Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) handles crypto policies, as noted by Consensus, their senior counsel. At the Consensus conference in Austin, Bill Hughes, a Consensus senior counsel and director of global regulatory matters, discussed the uncertain impact of evolving political and regulatory landscapes on Consensus lawsuit against the SEC over Ether. Lawmakers have pushed for regulatory clarity regarding SEC, but as far as they got is just essentially the Ethereum ETFs. The S1 still need to be approved. Now, additionally, digital assets have played a role in the actions of both major party presidential candidates ahead of the election. Hughes commented on the approval of the spot ethos, saying what impact this has on the investigation. The SEC has opened their theories as to what is or is not a securities offering in their views has yet to be seen. We think it's a fundamentally positive development and a development that shouldn't have been controversial whatsoever. Consensus filed a lawsuit against the SEC in Texas, alleging plans to regulate Ether as a security. The company received a Wells notice from the SEC warning of potential enforcement actions related to MetaMask swaps and MetaMask staking products. This lawsuit proceedings to the SEC's approval of 19B4 filings for several asset managers, list and trade spot Ether ETFs, suggesting that the SEC largely viewed Ether as a commodity. Consensus filings included statements from SEC Chairman Gary Gensler and Enforcement Division Head Gruber Grobel, who approved a formal investigation into Ether as a security. Hughes remarked, the political landscape is shifting and the full impact of that on the Commission's decision and essentially on the work of the staff has yet to be seen. What the chair and his two Democrat colleagues might now be thinking that they weren't 2 weeks ago is really the question. He speculated on the SEC's actions. I don't expect a wave of proposed rulemakings like the industry has suggested for years now. So, Consensus is still slightly a bit worried of what the SEC is about to do next, because they have approved the ETFs, but obviously the S1s need to be approved, which they can't waste time on it. But Consensus is thinking, why is the SEC, not dropping the case that's against MetaMask and so on? Full on dropping it, not coming after us anymore. And why are they taking their times in the S1 filings? Gary might be trying to buy some time for himself to maybe go against it, but I'm highly doubtful. Gary probably just wants to see what the FIT21 Act situation is going to be. Is President Joe Biden going to veto it? I'll give you this. If the FIT21 situation gets vetoed, let's say, by Joe Biden, Gary Gensler will probably withdraw the ETF applications for Ethereum and say the S1s aren't compatible in some sort of a way and tell everyone to redo them, and waste time. That could be the only reason Gary Gensler is waiting and wasting time. But I still do think he's going to approve them because it's really not looking good for Gary Gensler. But it almost seems like he's buying time. Now, when we get towards the end of the live show, things start getting really bullish. But these are news that you should know regarding Consensus on what's their movement so far, what conversations they've had. Now, 7 out of 10 failed Korean crypto exchanges can't repay investors. There was a study done in South Korea. South Korea is quite big inside the crypto space. They have a lot of investments inside the crypto space. One of the biggest pension funds inside of South Korea is invested into Coinbase shares. So not only is the corporate section inside the crypto sector when it comes to South Korea, but also in terms of the retail section, South Korea is huge on the crypto space. And even after 7 out of 10 failed Korean crypto exchanges. South Korea still remains one of the top players in terms of the retail section inside the crypto space. Over half of South Korean crypto exchanges have failed to repay their investors money after they become bankrupt, according to a joint study by the financial authorities. The study comes aimed growing interest in the digital assets market in South Korea, which is also estimated to be among the top crypto markets in the world, which is true. According to the study by the Financial Supervisory Service, the FSS, and Korea Financial Intelligence Unit, 7 out of 10 cryptocurrency exchanges failed to return investors' money after they suspended operations or shut down completely. Exchanges fail the basics. Apart from failure to reimburse funds to investors, a majority of the exchanges deny their investors the basic right to information. According to the study, 6 of the failed exchanges did not notify investors of impending closures or suspensions. And even if they did, just 1 or 2 employees were tasked with giving back customers money, causing extreme inconvenience for customers. These are the many reasons why you should never keep your money on exchanges. I've always told everyone, personally for myself, if I'm going to be buying and selling, I keep some USDT or USDC on exchanges. But other than that, the rest of my cryptocurrencies is all stored away in self-storage wallets. They don't need to be on exchanges. Korea is estimated to be one of the biggest cryptocurrency markets in the world. During the first half of 2023, for example, over 10% of the entire population, or over 6 million South Koreans, were active on cryptocurrency markets, registered exchanges during the first half of 2023. The Korean financial authorities call for compliance. In addition to the majority cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Koreans also trade some smaller and riskier cryptocurrencies. The FSS has indicated it will collaborate with other financial authorities to enhance rules on the financial firms that plan to close down. This is also part of the authorities' broader initiative towards investor protection. We come up with relative guidelines and will continue to focus on rooting out illicit activities in the growing digital asset market space, said the FSS. According to the South Korean Times, the FSS called on CEOs of digital asset service providers to ensure strict compliance with the virtual asset protection laws, which are expected some into effect in July. So now we have a timeline of what the regulations are going to be in South Korea. They're coming in July, which is good. In February, the KOFIU announced plans to tighten screws on cryptocurrency exchanges for both existing and new players coming in. This is bullish, essentially, what's happening in South Korea. Yes, the beginning part regarding 7 out of 10 cryptocurrencies failed, but the good thing is none of them were major exchanges, not like an FTX type of situation, but a much more smaller to medium-sized exchanges going bankrupt, which happens in business all the time. The positive and bullish side about this essentially is that South Korea is coming out with regulations in July, which means the markets in South Korea will become a much more mature place, which means corporate section will enter through South Korea after July onwards, which means it's bullish because the market will become a much more mature place. And in terms of essentially the FSS rewriting the laws from all angles, that's also quite bullish as well. The faster they move on regulations, the faster the corporate section can come in. That's essentially what will happen. Now, the next news to go from tonight's live show is regarding Arkham Labs. Arkham Labs, essentially inside the crypto space, they track wallets and find out who it belongs to. Arkham Labs was essentially able to find out the US government's assets in terms of cryptocurrencies, and something interesting flagged up, which we'll go through it. Jason, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Adi, good to see you as well. How are you doing, Miles? Lena, I'm doing great. How you doing? Hey, CMF and Miles. Stormy, good to see you as well. How you doing? Woodhouse, good to see you as well, brother. How you doing? How you been? So, Arkham Labs. Inside the crypto space, Arkham Labs is known as, well, they have NSA employees apparently, and FBI employees. Ex-NSA, ex-FBI employees work in Arkham Labs. And Arkham Labs is very good at finding out which wallet essentially belongs to who or which entity. And they found out that the US government is keeping essentially Alameda research funds in terms of cryptocurrency. What's interesting about this is FTX went completely bankrupt. And the money that was inside of Alameda Research or any other Alameda company that Sam Beckman essentially set up was customers' money from FTX. FTX is getting ready to one, pay a fine, and two, refund everybody. But the US government is keeping the money, the cryptocurrencies, by the way, that they took from Alameda Research, which is supposed to be refunded to the investors. And they're not giving it back, apparently, because Orcam's decision to essentially rebrand millions seized with Alameda Research as US government assets has sparked significant debate within the cryptocurrency community. This move places over $300 million worth of cryptocurrencies under the government label, has led to a widespread speculation about potential regulatory impacts and the future market dynamics inside the crypto sector. Government's approach to cryptocurrencies. This marks a new phase in the government's involvement with cryptocurrency and indicates increased regulatory oversight. This change could lead to new standards in how seized cryptocurrencies are managed and redistributed. Because this cryptocurrency that they got from Alameda Research is technically seized to be refunded to the investors, but they're keeping it. Stakeholders and observers have essentially watching for further developments, as this rebranding could reshape the landscape of cryptocurrency regulations on how governments seize your assets by taking it for themselves. Details of the Alameda seized assets now provide a clear picture of significant amounts under government control. In January 2023, the US government seized 3 Alameda Research accounts on Binance and Binance USA containing over $300 million. This seizure was a part of a broader move that saw over $700 million in assets seized from FTX and Alameda. The seized funds, now labeled under as the US government entity on Arkham Labs, include 119.3 million USDT, 102.38 million BTC, 28.35 million WBTC, 26.26 million BNB, also 26 million in Ethereum, and 13 million in BUSD, and also 26 million in wrapped Ethereum as well. The US government in a leading position. This rebranding and detailed accounting of seized assets not only provides transparency, but also highlights the significant control the US government currently holds over substantial amounts of cryptocurrencies. This development has raised questions about the future use of these assets and their potential impact on the broader market. Globally, the US is not alone in holding significant amounts of cryptocurrencies at the government level. According to Arkham data, the US government leads with 216,000 plus BTC, surpassing MicroStrategy's assets in terms of valuation, which MicroStrategy is valued at $13.5 billion. The United Kingdom and Germany also rank high in terms of state-owned crypto assets. El Salvador, which is adopted essentially Bitcoin as a legal tender, holds a relatively small amount. Meanwhile, speculation continues about the potential liquidation of other significant crypto assets, such as the hidden stash that the United States government has from their Silk Road and Bitfinex. Increasing government control over cryptocurrencies may mark a significant moment at the intersection of government policies and cryptocurrency markets. Arkham Labs basically found out that the US government is holding quite a lot of cryptocurrencies that isn't theirs. It's technically Alameda Researchers. And if it's Alameda Researchers' money, that means it's investor money, which means it needs to be refunded to investors. But the government is not paying it back. By the looks of it, they're keeping it in their cold storage wallets. And the government is still holding the Silk Road money. They're still holding the Bitfinex money. And Bitfinex, by the way, refunded their users and went to the US government and said, we refunded everyone. Can we have our seized money back? And they said no. Interesting enough. But they did refund up to a certain extent, not everyone, but up to a certain extent. But they still asked for the money back so they can refund people. And the government said no. So people are a bit worried as what is the US government going to be doing with all these assets? Messing with the market is the real answer, essentially. Throwing speed bumps maybe somewhere down the road. Now, crypto executives warns MiCA regulations will stifle EU crypto companies' competitiveness. Before I go through this news, let me go start the conversation first. Do they hold XRP? No, it was Alameda Research's cryptocurrencies, and Alameda Research wasn't holding XRP. It was holding Bitcoin, Ethereum, BNB, and USDT, and BUSD at the time. Good evening, Miles and CMF. It's me, Tanner. Tanner, good to see you as well. How you doing, brother? Long time. How you been? How's things, Tanner? Now, also, but good to see you, Tanner. Now, also, crypto executives. A crypto executive has came out and said that the MICA might be stifling Europe up to a certain extent. Robinhood's recent acquisition of the crypto exchange Bitstamp, which I revealed to everybody about 2 nights ago. 2 nights ago on this live show, I told everyone that Robinhood is out essentially purchasing Bitstamp. They're putting an offer on the table of $200 million roughly to buy out Bitstamp. Now, it seemed like obviously an approach to expanding their range, grows the adoption rate, and so on. A crypto executive has came out with a different perspective. Robinhood's recent acquisition of the crypto exchange Bitstamp has promoted questions about the impact of the EU's impending Markets in Crypto Assets, which is MICA, regarding their legislations, on the crypto startups in the region. According to Ledger's global head of policies, Seth, the upcoming rule would further make it difficult for companies in the region to compete with their counterparts globally. While several crypto community members interpreted Robinhood's acquisition of the Bitstamp as a further evidence of the crypto industry's growth, Hertlin views it as an example of how the EU strategy regulating early, with an example of the MICA, was how the region was making European firms less competitive to their rivals. So apparently the MICA is becoming a bit biased. So the MICA essentially is coming out with regulations, as we know, this year especially, and obviously USDT isn't going to do too well when they're fully implemented in terms of stable coins. But the MICA inside of the EU, in terms of their regulations, apparently they're trying to stifle their competitions, and they're in favor of EU blockchain companies and so on, but not too much of the foreign blockchain companies in the EU. This is according to one crypto executive, and also Ledger giving some opinions on this matter. He said that the MICA was hurdled by the EU institutions and much of the crypto industry, as ensuring that Europe wouldn't lose Web3 the way it lost Web2. That line in particular was quoted. Except the MICA together was the consultation of regulations the EU continues to erect around it, and guarantees just the opposite. How the EU's MICA embraces harms European crypto firms. In his social media post, Houghton explained that the MICA legislation would leave EU authorities with no European crypto businesses to regulate business. The law's cost, complexity, and restrictiveness would make it difficult for small companies or startups to cope. I will also give you my perspective at the end. So he believes that the MICA will be another milestone in the EU, and hang around its neck will prevent EU-based firms from growing. So his full-on perspective, this particular crypto executive's complete perspective, is that the MICA is stifling innovation in terms of small crypto companies and foreign crypto companies. So they're stifling the little guy. Robinhood's Bitstamp purchase, for example, is evidence that the MICA effect began even before the MICA fully came into force. With Robinhood essentially purchasing Bitstamp, it's because Robinhood finds it difficult to get some sort of licensing to be able to operate apparently in the EU, and therefore Robinhood wants to purchase Bitstamp because they already have the licensing, so it's easy for them to get in, apparently. When it comes to global competitiveness, in other words, over-regulating is the sorriest of ways to lose, and no one is better at it than the EU, Houghton said. The crypto executive noted that the situation would have been avoidable if the regulators had placed emphasis on enhancing EU competitiveness. The MIC law had healthy inputs from technical experts. Meanwhile, Houghton opinionated that emerging markets are best positioned to realize crypto potentials because they have a lower regulatory burdens. through cryptos, APAC and Latin, essentially in Africa, and essentially have opportunities to leapfrog the legacy markets that are so intent to using state power to protect the status quo. Hurton added that MICA to become effective by June 30th. Despite Hurton's strong criticism, his opinions contradict the general sentiment of the crypto industry about the MICA. The regulation passed into law in June 2023 and will become effective by June 30th, regarding the EU regulations, and has attracted praise from the crypto industry. Stakeholders have used it as an example of the much needed regulatory clarity that the United States regulators have failed to provide. With the specialized rules for stablecoin issuers set to become effective by the end of June, it's good that they mentioned this part, because this crypto executive sounds extremely biased. Two things he mentioned that's made me think of, okay, I know who's behind this. So there's a crypto executive right now bad mouthing the MICA in terms of regulations. There is only one crypto project, technically, one major crypto behemoth project, Tether USDT, that doesn't get along with the EU right now at all. Tether and the EU do not get along. Interesting enough, Tether and the United States don't get along either. But Tether and the EU, in terms of the MICA, don't get along. Tether has made criticisms towards the MICA. The MICA has essentially said, well, we want full transparency. And now there's a random crypto executive that's came out and got the head of Ledger to come out and give a little speech as well. In terms of the MICA stifling creations for the little guy. They're not, in any sort of a way. And Robinhood essentially purchasing Bitstamp is not because Robinhood can't get licensings in the EU, because they did for Ireland. With the specialized rules for stablecoin issuers, also this gives it away as well. With the specialized rules for stablecoin issuers set to become effective by the end of June, regulators and crypto-focused businesses are already preparing for changes, which is true. Binance recently announced restricts on the unauthorized, essentially stablecoins for its users in the European Union economic area. The limits became effective by June 30th. OKX Exchange also disconnected support for USDT, which they did. And with the EEA in March, regulators are also gearing up to implement their rules, but it's expected that the grace period for each EU member state might be different. Most countries already have designated authorities to implement and enforce their rules. By December 2024, other regulators, including licensing requirements for crypto asset service providers, will also become effective. So what's happening in the EU is bullish. Okay, regarding the MICA coming out with regulations, more corporates coming in, is extremely bullish. This particular executive, crypto executive, right now inside the crypto space, who's came out of nowhere, giving his perspective to make the little guy look bad, is untrue. Okay, so sometimes news like this comes out inside the crypto space as well, just a pile on top. Bad timing as well, but just a pile on top, essentially, on everything that's happening inside the crypto space. When you get random crypto executives coming out and just spewing out absolute, basically BS and lies, and people would read this and essentially go, well, this is bad. How can the EU do this? This is a, bearish situation for the EU and so on, when in reality it isn't. The MICA is bullish because it's going to happen either way, if you like it or not. The rules and regulations are coming. But two, it makes the corporate section enter a lot more quicker. And regarding the MICA stifling innovation, they're not stifling innovation. The only crypto project that's been stifled is USDT and Tether, which I have a hunch that the crypto executive that came out of nowhere has some sort of ties with Tether, because that's the only issue, Tether. The reason why I read out this article is because if you do come across articles like this, some of you might have today on X or so on, but the reason why I share you these articles is because I want to tell you the true reason behind it, that some people just write complete BS to pile on top of the markets. But some people read that and panic, and some people read that and go, well, this is extremely bearish. The EU is going to be stifling, the market's probably going to go more down and so on. In reality, it isn't true at all. It's just complete BS. This is why you should always take the news with complete grain of salt. And the next news to go from tonight's live show is regarding end of cash in Europe. Well, before we go through that, let's go to the comment section first. Coin, good to see you as well. How you doing? Hello, Miles of CMF. How you doing? I'm good, Miles. How are you? Doing great, Tanner. Hello, Miles. Lovely beauty. Good to see you as well. How you doing? I had to use my wife's account, my wife's YouTube account. No problem. Now, end of cash in Europe. Rather than digital euro, than crypto, and the ECB was mentioned. The European Central Bank ECB is actively working to curb the crypto phenomenon by launching its own digital euro, in terms of a CBDC. During the Money 2020 conference, Evelyn, the director of the digital euro at the ECB, expressed that the institution's eagerness to see this electronic currency on the market a solution demand necessary in the face of the declining cash usage and the rise of digital alternatives. The ECB wants to move forward, but with determination. Cautiously, but with determination. A digital euro instead of crypto to adapt to new habits. By the way, the digital euro pretty much only goes against stablecoins because they're all private companies. So, no, the European Central Bank has not yet changed its opinions regarding Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, according to the publications. Evelyn, a prominent figure at the institutions, took an advantage at her speech at Money 2020 to outline the potential implications of digital euro, noting a significant decrease in cash usage in Europe. She hinted that a digital euro could become essential. And also, this is the Money 22 events that I'm just telling you about right now, the Money 20/20 events that's going on right now in the ECB in Europe, where all these bankers and executives are coming together to give their perspectives, is basically what just happened in Russia about 2 nights ago on the slideshow I revealed as well. Now, going back to this, according to her, only 1 in 5 transactions is still carried out in cash in the EU. In cities like Amsterdam, which pushes the ECB to seriously consider this monetary transformation. However, she emphasized that while investments in the euro is very likely and is not yet a decision set in stone. They're saying, when it comes to central banks and executives, for some oddly reason, they keep on always stating, we're doing testing, the testing is successful, is going to very likely be happening and so on, but we're not sure still yet. They're absolutely sure CBDCs are coming. The digital euro would be an electronic version of cash, retaining its legal tender status, is what she said. This change would ensure that all merchants accept digital payments would have to accept this new form of currencies. Buy your crypto with Swissborg, essentially. The initiatives aims not only to modernize the payment system, but also to ensure greater economic securities and independence from the foreign payment systems. Also, Whitlocks emphasized that it would be an asset for citizens, offering them a new, secure and accessible payment method while strengthening Europe's economic sovereignness in the face of the invasion of the foreign payment solutions. Security and privacy, regarding protection and focus. The ECB does not hide that the digital euro is partly a response to the fear that the growing resilience on non-European payment services could compromise the security of financial transactions. Cryptos are often labeled as unsafe by our governments. In fact, Evelyn expressed clear concerns about this dependence, insisting that a digital euro could enhance economic sovereignty and ensure the security of both public and private payments, though to allow a dual between this asset and Bitcoin. The ECB is keen to ensure that this new payment method is inexclusive, allowing everyone to participate in the digital economy without barriers to access. In terms of security and privacy, it was also mentioned that the ECB does not want to become a big brother of financial transaction privacies, and securities are on top of priorities, and technical solutions like privacy by design will be implemented. This includes options like offline digital euros, ensuring that even without an internet connection, transactions remain confidential. The goal is to avoid the creation of a programmable currency, which could potentially be used to monitor or control users. Otherwise, it would be a pure economic downfall. In sum, the e-euro presents itself as a modern solution to challenges posed by the decline in cash usage and the rise of cryptocurrencies, while reinforcing Europe's security and economic sovereignty. Basically, this was one massive confirmation that's happened regarding the EU. The EU just did one massive confirmation that, yes, CBDCs are coming, the MICA with regulations are coming this year, all of this is happening as in the works. But the interesting part was, for the first time ever, they didn't say, the CBDC that we're producing, the digital euros that we're producing, has privacy issues and we're aware of it, or it has no privacy issues, essentially. What they mentioned instead is that we need to program the euros. That's a very new approach that the EU is taking right now, because in the past, the EU would have said, we're looking into the privacy issues. And then they went from, we're looking into the privacy issues, to, there is no privacy issues. Now they're saying, we need to program the money. It needs to be done, or it will be chaos. Either way, there's only one crypto project behind CBDCs. 24,000 crypto projects, only one doing CBDCs. So bullish for anyone that's holding that particular crypto asset that has a CBDC platform titled XRP. Hi Miles, the CMF. What did I miss was at the market was going to pump next week. Yeah, the market, regarding the market being down right now, it is quite temporary. The situation we're in right now, it's quite temporary. The market is going to rebound. But here's the thing. Mike, good to see you, but how you doing? There's a lot of people right now inside the market space that are a bit down. Some people at the beginning of the live show was mentioned that don't want to look at the market space right now. But this is when you should be looking at the market space. Everybody always said to me, quite a lot actually, a lot of people have said this to me, that they missed out on particular crypto projects. Well, here's your chance. If you missed out on particular crypto projects and you were always looking for a better price, this is the perfect chance. When the market is down, don't be upset about it. Don't be angry about it. First of all, don't even bring emotions into it. But when the market is down, it's time to be happy about it, essentially. Because you get to pack your bags more. And I'll tell you one thing. We're going to go through news on tonight's live show regarding what the corporate section is doing in this moment in time. In this moment in time, while the retail section, some panicking, some aren't doing anything, they're standing where they are, the corporate section is actually buying. The BTC ETFs are still having inflows. The corporate section is still buying cryptocurrencies and storing them away on essentially cold storage wallets. The data is there to prove it. We're still having inflows from the corporate section. 937 corporations are still doing inflows into the ETFs. While some people inside the retail section are panicking, and some people don't want to look at the market, and some people inside the retail section are just standing still. So if you ever feel like you missed out on anything, this is your perfect time. And in times like this, don't look away from the market. This is when you should be in the market. Is the Bank of International Settlements more powerful than BlackRock or vice versa? More powerful. The Bank of International Settlements is the banks of all central banks. So we're talking about a list of 60 to 63 centralized banks, including G20 banks, central banks. Yeah, the Bank of International Settlements is here. BlackRock is here. 63 centralized banks. Just put them all together. Great sale, like a target deal. Basically, let's go with Pisces. How you doing? If this dips upsets you, be ready for what Brad says. The eventual Black Swan event is coming. Yes, that is true. I revealed on this live show regarding Brad when he did an interview. So Brad basically just went on a podcast to give his perspective, and he said a Black Swan event is definitely going to be happening, is what he said in his perspective. Now, a Black Swan event could be good and bad, depending on how you look at it. Thank you. No problem, Joe. Ripple Labs. Ripple Labs might have something big brewing in Georgia. The American blockchain payments firm Ripple Labs is deepening its relationships with Georgia, with the officials in both entities featuring in a meeting recently. Ripple to support digitalization of the Georgian economy. According to Anthony Walfer, an author of the Central Bank Digital Currency CBDC, advisor for Ripple Labs, the company's vice president James Wallace, and Astor Brown from software engineering service providers EAMP Systems are in close communications with the National Bank of Georgia, NBG. The screenshot that the welfare shared in his update on X highlighted how their discussions centered around exploring potential avenues for collaboration in the digitalization of the Georgian economy. Their conversations stems from the fact that the Ripple is the technology partner for the NBG's pilot project on its CBDC, the digital lorry. The blockchain payments firm emerged the favorite after a couple of rigorous processes that involved 9 companies. They were all judged based on sufficient technological potential, maturity, capacity, relative experience, and a desire to join on the unfueled exploration. In the end, Ripple emerged as the best partner for Georgia's bank. Ripple's alliance with the bank involves the execution and delivery of the digital lorry pilot program using the Ripple CBDC platform. Remember how I've said, multiple times there are about 24,000 crypto projects. Some of those crypto projects are doing AI, so there's a lot of competition. Some are doing gaming competition. There's a lot of competition in the gaming section. Some are doing Web3 competition. Some are doing data inside the crypto space competition. Some are doing AI, Web3, data storage, and so on. There's so much competition inside the crypto sector. But only one is doing CBDCs, and one only has CBDC platforms. So, Ripple's alliance with the bank involves the execution and delivery of the digital lorry pilot program using the Ripple CBDC platform that came alive a while back ago. The novel CBDC platform will be used to access potential use cases of the digital lorry, the benefits it holds for the public sector, businesses as well, and the retail users, the rise of more use cases for Ripple. Colombia's central bank, Bank de Republic, once collaborated with Ripple to explore blockchain technology's use cases for the digital pesos pilot by utilizing the same CBDC platform. The partnership involves the Ministry of Information and Communication Technologies and a specialized blockchain technology firm known as PureSight Technology. The mission focused on evaluating the potential efficiencies of a solution using the CBDC platform. This massive endowment towards the Ripple services earned the blockchain platform an award about a year ago during the 2023 digital currency conference. Ripple Labs bagged the award for the currency research for its role in the advancements in digital currencies and best sustainability initiative. Judging by the focus of the National Bank of Georgia's meeting with Wallace, Ripple may be on its way to welcoming more use cases in the region. I did say previously, there is virtually no competition for Ripple in any sort of a way, but there are multiple meetings going on right now between Ripple and their Central Bank of Georgia. Multiple meetings going on. So are we going to get the news coming in, Georgia announcing it? Essentially, they're launching the same way Paolo did. Possibly. Georgia's population isn't too high, so it makes sense if that's going to be the next location that pops off. That's good. Also bullish. Because if they keep on testing it out, in terms of Paolo being a small country, they were the first ones to go active. Then we get Georgia, a little bit more population going on there, and then just broadening its range until it gets perfected, essentially. As I've said previously, Ripple needs to be 1 billion% sure before, XRP needs to be 1 billion% sure before it essentially becomes a financial backbone. Because there cannot be any downside, there cannot be any bugs in the system. Banks cannot go down. They need to be doing payments 24/7. So they need to be 1 billion% sure before they launch. So launch on Paolo was a small amount of people. Great. It worked out perfectly. They loved the idea. And then now Georgia, bigger population. And then bigger and bigger and bigger. And like that, it will spread like wildfire. Now, Binance is the next news to go from tonight's live show. Binance has just reached new milestones as well. Thank you, George. No problem. Anytime. Shelly, good to see you as well. How you doing, Shelly? Morning. Let's go. So Binance reaches 200 million users with 100 billion assets in under custody. Why is this a massive milestone? Well, there's about half a billion people in crypto. There's about half a billion people in crypto. 200 million of those users are Binance users now. Well, obviously they have other accounts as well, but 200 of those people, 200 million people are using Binance. Binance reaches 200 million users, active users, with $100 billion in assets under custody. So it seems like the two new CEOs that they did get, essentially from the World Economic Forum, one for Binance regular and one for Binance US, is really working out for them, to be fairly honest. Binance, the largest cryptocurrency exchange in the world by daily volume, announced a June 8th that it would reach 200 million global users. To the best of our knowledge, no other exchange can boost near as many users. However, it bears that mention that these figures are self-reported. In true celebratory fashion, Binance marked the occasion across its social media platforms by forming the 200 million users mark as a milestone on the company's quest to onboard a billion, or 1 in every 8 people on Earth. Today, this is what Binance tweeted out. Today, we celebrate 200 million. And it's all because of you. Your support, the heartbeat of our journey to 1 billion users. Here is the stars of our story, you. As recently as 2022, Binance only had approximately 130 million users. In 2023, the exchange had 40 million users to bring its total count to 170 million. In time, since just 6 months into 2024, it's already added at least 30 million more people. And it could reach about 300 million users by 2026, assuming the trend remains the same for both the company and the industry, which it will for the industry. Companies will definitely going to be there. They have replaced their CEOs now. The global cryptocurrency consumer installation base reached 562 million people in 2024, up from 142 million over 2023's 422 million users. According to research from AAA, these numbers indicate that Binance users account for approximately 36% of the global cryptocurrency user base. That in itself is a ridiculous number. 36% of the global cryptocurrency user base is on Binance. Binance's 200 million user milestone comes on the heels of another cryptocurrency industry record for the company, as Cointelegraph reported back in March that Binance reached a total of 100 billion users, of $100 billion in terms of user assets. That averages out about $500 worth of assets per user. That is an absolutely amazing news to hear from Binance. Binance did replace their CEOs. The normal US Binance, the normal Binance is a World Economic Forum member as a CEO. And the Binance US is also a World Economic Forum member. So they're part of the group now, is what they're keeping around for. Because they can have Coinbase running the show, but they can also have Binance on the sidelines. They've replaced the CEOs. They are in full control. There are more government entities in Binance than ever. But yeah, that's an absolute milestone. That's absolutely does show that there is quite a lot of growing interest in cryptocurrencies, and Binance is doing those numbers. Now, the next news to go from tonight's live show is regarding Australia. There's something happening in Australia. Major crypto event is happening in Australia. I thought the US could not use Binance. The US has Binance.us. Kim, the Binance.us. Good evening, Miles and CMF. Ghostbunny, good to see you as well. How you doing? There's some difficulties with Binance.us, but Binance's global users are mostly towards the Asian side. Now, it's mostly because of normal Binance, but they have replaced their CEOs. They're both World Economic Forum members, which makes sense of why they're keeping around, but Coinbase will run the show. Now, reshaping digital economy with Australia's blockchain week 2024. There's a massive crypto event happening in Australia. Reshaping the digital economy, Australia's annual celebration of innovation and creativity and technology is on the way to exploring the role of distributed ledger technology, DLT, in the digital economy. Australia's Blockchain Week 2024 will be organised in Sydney between June 11th and June 14th, 2024. Australia's Blockchain Week 2024 details. Australia is all prepared to explore blockchain technology's latest developments and future at Australian Blockchain Week 2024. The event is sponsored by Crypto.com, and it covers the role of blockchain and DLT played in driving the digital economy in Australia. The event was going to be held at a different location in Sydney, but here are the details. Day one at the event, Builders and Innovation, June 11th, essentially is going to be day one, in-person and online conferences with builders, investors, and attendees. It involved discussions on themes including blockchain services in Australia, the role of cloud infrastructure in Web3 and artificial intelligence, magic internet money, in other words, the dual path of tokenizations and digitalizations, and more, is what's going to be happening on June 11th. Day 2, June 12th, DLT and digital assets. The second day of the event will revolve around themes like sector-specific insights on digital assets, custody solutions, and regulatory compliance. Institutional adoption of digital assets, early Japanese regulations and custody solutions for digital assets will be discussed in detail, along with Blockchain Week celebration and 10th anniversary of the gala dinner. Day 3 will be June 13th, adoption and evolution. The third of the event will revolve around discussions on the adoption and evolution of blockchain technology and the digital economy. The brightest minds of the event will carry and outline detailed debates on themes like tax forecast, security forecast, insurance forecast, and risk forecast, followed by a Q&A session and networking. Day 4, Fringe Festival and After Party, which will be June 14th. The last event includes a blockchain lawyers forum event and breakfast, followed by discussions on the financial year end and new regulations. Confessions of a Bitcoin startup, an official after party and drinks with the women of blockchain will allow attendees to expand their roots in the crypto and Web3 space. The brightest minds to watch at the event. The event includes giants of pioneering technology, academics, executives, and government leaders playing a major role in shaping the digital economy. A lot of people are attending in Australia. 80 plus speakers. That's quite incredible. 80 plus speakers, including Freddie, the CEO of Novatech, Mark Staples, the CTO of Digital Finance CRC, Kate Cooper, CEO of Zodia Custody, and other respected individuals will join the Australian Blockchain Week 2024. The brightest minds will brainstorm and share their views on blockchain technology, Web3, cryptocurrencies, and ways to reshape the digital economy. Australian Blockchain Week 2023 recap. If you did miss the previous one, this was the new one coming up now. But the previous Australian event that happened in terms of blockchain, the previous Australian Blockchain Week essentially has emerged as a platform for sharing and celebrating creativity, innovation, and growth of the digital economy. The Australian Blockchain Week that happened in 2023 event uncovered the potentials of blockchain digital assets, stablecoins, regulatory challenges, CBDCs, and many more. The 5-day event began on 26th of June, wrapped on until June 30th in 2023, and it involved different sessions like the National Fringe Festival, Web3 workshops, Global Outlook of Web3, Layer Solutions, and CBDCs. But this one that's coming up right now is the 2024 event. And the 2024 event in Australia is going to be around June 11th. June 11th to June 14th. Massive crypto event going on right now. That is also good news as well, because it grows adoption. These kind of events grow adoption. Even if someone is interested in crypto, they can bring their family members along with them or their friends along with them. But events like this help to grow the adoption inside the retail section before the CBDCs arrive, and all hell breaks loose with the CBDCs. But yeah, if you are in Australia, you can attend that event. 80 plus speakers. That in itself is absolutely ridiculous. 80 plus speakers are going to be there. The event is not going to be some, unknown event, some cheap event. It's going to be sponsored by Crypto.com. Crypto.com has a lot of money to play around with. So it's going to be one hell of an event with all the executives, directors, and CEOs attending, 80 plus speakers attending. They're going to do Q&As, they're going to do some networking going on there, pop-up shops are going to be there, startup companies are going to be there, a lot of things are going to be happening in Australia. The same thing that's also going to be happening in Amsterdam. Amsterdam is also having an XRP Ledger event as well. Over there is going to be 80 plus speakers as well. And that's also on June 11th as well. Now, the next news to go from tonight's live show is investors withdraw Bitcoin from exchanges. I'll tell you how that is extremely positive. But before we go through that, let's go through the comment section first. Ghost Runner, good to see you as well. How you doing? Good evening, Miles CMF. Let's go. How you doing, Ghost Runner? Late to the show. What up, Miles and family? Hope all is well, though. Ray, good to see you as well, brother. How you doing? How you been? So, investors withdraw Bitcoin from exchanges. Why is this a positive sign? Well, typically, when investors withdraw their assets from exchanges, it means that they don't want to sell. Think of it like this. Right now, with the market downtrend, heavy investors, in terms of corporates, are pulling their investments from exchanges. Now, you would expect in moments like this that the corporate section will be dumping on you even harder. But they're actually pulling their assets from the exchanges. Investors withdraw Bitcoin from exchanges. Cryptocurrency market experienced a drop yesterday, disappointing many investors. But Bitcoin withdrawals from exchanges increased. Isn't that interesting? That the crypto market crashed yesterday. That typically means maybe there's going to be more sell-offs. That also typically means that people move their assets to exchanges, not the other way around. But the corporate exchange, essentially the corporate investors, the heavy investors from the corporate section, while the market was dumping yesterday, they weren't dumping on you also. They were actually withdrawing their assets from the exchanges. But Bitcoin withdrawals from exchanges increased. Last week, approximately 22,647 Bitcoins, worth over $1.57 billion, were withdrawn from various cryptocurrency exchanges. Assets are being removed from exchanges. Heavy amounts of crypto assets are being removed from exchanges for a while now. Firstly, such a large amount of Bitcoin being withdrawn from exchanges usually indicates a change in investor behavior. It does. It means they're not selling. Withdrawing Bitcoin from exchanges typically shows that owners prefer to hold in long term rather than preparing to sell. So yesterday, while the market was dumping, the heavy investors were withdrawing their assets. This trend might indicate a bullish sentiment, as investors seem confident in Bitcoin's future value and prefer to store their assets in private wallets rather than leaving them on exchanges, where they are more accessible for trading and other cryptocurrencies. Current supply on exchanges decreases. Secondly, this movement can also affect Bitcoin's liquidity on exchanges. With a significant amount of BTC being withdrawn, the current supply on exchanges decreases. Lower liquidity can lead to a higher volatility, as large buys or sell orders can have a more pronounced effect on the market price. Investors often closely monitor these metrics, as changes in exchanges reserves can provide insights into potential price movements. Additionally, the current trend can be influenced by external factors, such as regulatory developments, macroeconomics, conditions, or advancements in the cryptocurrency ecosystem. For instance, increased regulatory scrutiny or changes in legislation might prompt investors to secure their assets in private wallets. Similarly, macroeconomic factors like inflation or economic instability might drive investors to hold onto Bitcoin as a hedge against traditional financial uncertainties. Active role of institutional investors. Another consideration is the role of institutional investors. In these movements, this week especially, We also saw this through inflows into Bitcoin ETFs. Institutional participations in cryptocurrency markets has significantly increased over the past few years from institutions. Increased significantly. Large withdrawals might indicate that institutional players are increasing their holdings. Again, while the market was dumping yesterday, the institutional investors were withdrawing their assets from the exchanges. When people put their assets on the crypto exchanges, they typically sell. When people withdraw their assets from the crypto exchanges and put it on a cold wallet, it means they believe in the assets and they're not selling. They're not dumping on you. So while the market was dumping, retail section was panicking yesterday, the institutional players were withdrawing their assets. The data is there to prove it. Large withdrawals might indicate that institutional players are increasing their holdings, further validating Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies as a legitimate asset class. Institutional investors' participations can also contribute to the perception of Bitcoin as a long-term investment rather than speculative assets. Moreover, advancements in crypto infrastructure, such as the development of decentralized finance, of what's really going on right now in terms of the crypto sector, in terms of the corporate sector, DeFi platforms, decentralized finance DeFi platforms, have improved security measures, can encourage investors to move their assets off exchanges. The possibility of earning yields through DeFi protocols and enhanced security can make holding Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies in private wallets more attractive. That is extremely bullish. As I said, when we get to the endings of the live show, obviously we're not at the end yet, but as we're going into the endings of the live show, things will get more bullish. That is extremely bullish. Regarding everybody panic selling yesterday, obviously nobody inside the CMF panic sold, but the majority of the crypto section, did panic. I've seen on the X posts, people are posting who's selling, why is the market dumping, and so on. And I did reveal 5 reasons of why the market was dumping yesterday. But while the market was dumping, while panic was being created, on the other side, the corporate section were withdrawing their assets from exchanges, not selling them or dumping even harder on you. They were essentially withdrawing their assets, which is extremely bullish. Not only were they withdrawing, but they were also buying. I've always said, don't move with the sheep, move with the wolf. The corporate section yesterday were withdrawing their assets and buying from exchanges. The wolves were buying yesterday, and the sheep were wondering, why is the market dumping? And some were selling. But the good thing is, we have no sheeps inside the CMF, because everyone's a wolf inside the CMF, because we're all, essentially, most of us will buy, most of us are opening our positions, which is great to see, honestly. Extremely great to see. Because the CMF, some of you are getting prepared to purchase more, some of you put in buy orders, and some of you were asking me, price positions to come into the market as well, which is all great things to hear when the market is like this. That's why I say everyone inside the CMF is pretty much a wolf. We have no sheeps. Can't say that for the rest of the Telegram groups, only ours. Only ours. Bitcoin ETFs is the next news to go through. Bitcoin ETFs see significant inflows despite market fluctuations. Despite, the market downtrend, inflows were still happening. From where? The corporate section, again, for the ETFs. Bitcoin ETFs see a significant inflow despite market fluctuations. The US spot Bitcoin BTC ETF witnessed an influx of $131 million on June 7th, marking a 19 consecutive days of positive inflows. This occurred even as ARC21 shares Bitcoin ETFs saw net outflows totaling 1,364 BTC valued at $96 million. On the other hand, we still had 131 million coming in. leaving his total holdings at 48,939 BTC, which is about $3.47 billion. According to Look On Chain, a notable 3,689 BTC, equivalent to $261 million, was added across 9 different ETFs on June 7th. The influx was primarily driven by BlackRock, which added 4,896 BTC, worth $347.61 million to its holdings, bringing its total to an impressive 302 plus thousand BTC, valued at around 21.48 billion. These inflows are a strong indication of investor confidence, particularly in BlackRock and Fidelity's products, which overshadowed the outflow from ARK21 shares. Valkyrie Bitcoin Fund, BRRRR, remained neutral, while the Franklin Bitcoin ETF also recorded 0. Over the course of the 7 days, BlackRock enjoyed the best performance of all BTCs, registering a net inflow of 13,482 BTC in that period. Fidelity Wise Origin Bitcoin Fund, FTC, came in second. It managed to pull 9,729 BTC with a market value of more than $671 million. These are all the amounts that were coming in for the BTC ETFs. While the crypto market was on panic mode yesterday, and also today a little bit, there are inflows happening on the BTC ETFs from the corporate section. Fidelity Wise Origin Bitcoin Fund came in second. It managed to pull 9,729 BTC with a market value of more than $671 million. In third place was ARKB. Despite yesterday's decrease, the panic situation the retail section was going through yesterday, ARK Invest still managed to go on a 7-day net inflow. Even yesterday was a good day. They brought in about 1,764 BTC worth, estimated $121 million. Other ETFs, including VanEck's Bitcoin Trust ETF and Valkyrie's Bitcoin Fund, contributed small amounts with weekly net inflows of $7.7 million and $1.5 million. So, while the majority of the crypto section was in panic mode from the retail section yesterday, as you can see, the corporate section is 1, buying, 2, storing it off the exchanges, and 3, they're not dumping on you. They don't need to. They create essentially the corporate section. The corporate section has a lot of power. 1, because they have media influence. 2, because they have Wall Street influence. And they don't really need to dump on you. Just release data, sometimes manipulate the data, or make the news in panic mode and so on, and then the crypto section will just crumble. The retail section will crumble. And then the whales inside the crypto section will jump on the bandwagon because they're doing it on purpose to create more panic mode. So the market dumps a little bit more. So the whales can buy it back up, and so can Wall Street, essentially the corporate section, and the wolves inside the crypto space. That's what happens all the time. But yeah, the corporate section, 1, the data is there to prove it. The inflows are there all on far side. 1, the corporate section is still coming in with heavy inflows, consecutive days, back to back. There are inflows happening on BTC ETFs. So the corporate section is still in favor of that. 2, the corporate section is moving their assets off the exchanges. They're not selling, they're not dumping, they're moving off the exchanges. These are all bullish signs of essentially what's about to be happening next, which is regulations. Which is also that the market is going to go extremely bullish in terms of the part 2 that's still brewing. Because with part 2 brewing, remember what I said, when these corporate section come in, when the executives and directors come in, they're disrupting patterns when they buy and hold, something that wasn't typically happening inside the crypto section. But these institutions are buying and holding for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. But if they're moving all their assets off the exchanges as well, it means that they're preparing for wealth. They're preparing for a huge profit. If they're preparing for a huge profit, they don't want their assets on exchanges, just in case something happens to those exchanges. Could be because of regulations, but the prices have to go high. It's the reason why they're doing it. It could be because the exchanges might not be able to make it through regulations, might get sued by the SEC, or what Brad said, essentially. But bullish. What the corporate section is doing right now is extremely bullish, and it goes back to also what I said as well. Where the corporate section, it seems like almost they're dollar cost averaging, where they're pushing the market down a bit and buying in, bit buying in, bit buying in is what's happening right now again. BitGo's CEO. Facts. Let's go, Ray. BitGo's CEO predicts significant Bitcoin rally within 6 months. BitGo's CEO Mike Bellish made a bold prediction that Bitcoin could experience a significant rally, rising essentially by up to 94% within the next 6 months. Within the 6 months. Is his prediction. In a recent interview, Mike Bellish, the CEO of BitGo, stated that he expects Bitcoin to reach a range of 125,000 to 145,000 by the end of the year. At the time of his prediction, Bitcoin was trading around the $60,000 marks. Increase in US national debt. Mike Bellish attributed his bullish outlook to the several key factors, including the historic rise in the US national debt. He added that the ongoing macroeconomics environment strengthens the argument that Bitcoin is a viable alternative to traditional financial systems. According to BitGo's CEO, the uncontrollable nature of the US debt is no longer a matter of debate, and its economic backdrop reinforces the perception of Bitcoin as a modern equivalent of gold. Weaponization of the US dollar. Furthermore, Mike Bellish identified the weaponization of the US dollar as another catalyst for Bitcoin's potential rise. He believes that the US government's use of sanctions and control over the US dollar in foreign policies has driven other nations to seek alternatives. This includes the formation of economic bloc like BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, which are developing payment systems outside of the influence of the US dollar. Although these initiatives are currently small scale, Mike Bellish expects their impact to grow over time, reducing the dominance of the US dollar. Mike Bellish emphasized the lack of strong alternative global reserve currencies leaves a gap that the largest cryptocurrency could fill. He also noted that BRICS countries are attempting to reduce their resilience on the dollar by conducting more transactions in other currencies. This trend, combined with US sanctions and foreign policy measures, alarms US dollar holders about the potential of their assets to be targeted similarly to the sanctions imposed on Russia. According to Mike Bellish, the combination of factors such as the US debt crisis, the weaponization of the US dollar, and the emergence of alternative payment systems by economic blocs creates a favorable environment for the Bitcoin's growth. The BitGo CEO particularly highlighted that this is the underlying narrative driving Bitcoin's existence. So, that is perspectives from BitGo. From BitGo's perspective, CEO of BitGo's perspective, within 6 months, the market should be looking on the upside. Within 6 months. So starting now, essentially, up until the end of the year, we're starting to do a U-turn, essentially is what he's trying to say, a rebound. Which is, yes, true. Because we still have a lot of things on the table. So what he's saying is true. Because we still have a lot of things. We still have the Ripple case on the table, which is going to come to end this year. We still have the Kraken case. We still have the Coinbase case. We still have the Binance case. All these things are going to set off sparks inside the market space. And then all this is basically this year. The Do Kwon case is basically coming to an end as well. It's because they can't reach them, so they're coming to a settlement. And also the regulations of the MICA coming in this year as well, being fully implemented. That's going to cause sparks inside the market space, more corporates entering. The regulations also coming in from the BRICS section as well. That's going to cause sparks inside the market space. The rate cuts are also going to essentially put sparks inside the market space as well. The EU is coming out with more rate cuts. The UK is going to prepare for more rate cuts. The EU is also going through a political situation. The UK is getting ready for a prime minister situation. The US this year is also getting ready for a presidential election. There are still so many events on the way right now happening this year, all of it this year, that any single one of them could be an activation for the market. But also, the biggest activation for the market space is the corporate section that are coming in because of the regulations, because the crypto space is becoming a mature place. It's no longer going to be the volatility place, it's going to be the mature place, which means the corporate section are coming heavy-footed, which they are. We can easily tell the corporate sections are coming in heavy-footed. From the US markets, we can easily see that. From the German markets, we can see that as well, with the banks coming in, partnering off. 3 banks already, major banks. 1 government bank. 2, one of them being the largest bank inside of Germany, and the other one being another bank, and one being a government bank with about $300 billion of assets under its management. All partnering up with crypto platforms, specifically Bitpanda, which is also a Ripple partner. But that's just Germany, that's just the United States. We have Canada as well, coming in as well inside the play. We have Hong Kong coming inside the play, Japan coming inside the play, Singapore coming inside the play. The UAE released a set of regulations, full-on regulations, to get the ball rolling. There are still so many events happening this year that's all going to be positioned in the market quite well. So, and again, while the market was down, just take a think to yourself, who was buying while the market was down, and who was also moving their assets off the exchanges? Because when the market was down, the corporate section were moving their assets off the exchanges. They were not dumping on you. And when the market was down yesterday, the corporate section was buying. Consecutive days back to back of inflows were happening on BTC ETFs. And that was just for the BTC ETFs. But the assets coming off the exchanges, that was an alternative, a list of assets coming off the exchanges. All of them, corporate section. You always go looking from both sides. Now, let's consider the comment section. Miles, it might not be understood by some, but if you buy crypto through an exchange, transfer it to your wallet, and that exchange gets sued, you can still remove money off wallet or blockchain, not the same exchange. When I said I, because she wrote Happy Pisces wrote I. Happy Pisces, elaborate. Do you mean if you buy cryptocurrencies from an exchange, and that exchange gets sued, but you've already transferred your crypto assets to your wallet, you can still remove money off wallet or blockchain, not the same. In other words, you won't be stuck. Yeah, no, you won't be stuck. Now I understand. Yeah, you won't be stuck. If you buy cryptocurrencies from an exchange, you move it to your wallet, and the exchange gets sued, or exchange goes through bankruptcy, nothing happens to your crypto assets if they're on a wallet, on a cold storage wallet, not on the exchange. Yes, that's true. Also, we have reached the endings of tonight's live show as well. And extremely amount of work to do as well for CoinMove. Tomorrow I'm doing, and it's a Sunday tomorrow as well, but I'm meeting some acquaintances tomorrow to discuss some matters on CoinMove. A lot of things are in progress. So I just wanted to clarify for some people, because once this starts happening with exchanges getting sued, people are going to be nervous, saying, but I brought it off crypto.com from exchange, take it off the exchange immediately now. Yes. This is why I always say, if you buy cryptocurrencies, look, the only time I would ever keep a cryptocurrency on an exchange, if I'm trading on it, if I'm doing some leverage trading, then I'll keep the money on the exchange. But if I'm, not going to be using those particular assets, I'm putting it in a cold storage wallet or a hot wallet. So never keep anything on the exchanges is what I'm trying to say. Worst idea possible. Because many things can go wrong with a crypto exchange. They can go bankrupt. They can go, essentially, you go through chapter 11, chapter 15. Many things can happen. What was the bullish news? Well, the bullish news was what's happening inside the corporate section. What was happening inside the corporate section, essentially, with the corporate section removing their assets at the same time the retail section was panicking. Yesterday, at the same time the retail section was panicking, the corporate section were moving their assets off the exchanges. That means the corporate section is, one, not selling, which is quite bullish, and two, that they believe in the assets themselves, and three, there could be a major event coming. And the other bullish news was that even though the market was dumping quite a bit yesterday, the corporate section had consecutive days of inflows. Still, even yesterday when the market was dumping, the money was still inflowing into the ETFs. In other words, the retail section is panicking and the corporate section is buying and holding. The same scenario is going with meme coins. The retail section is focused on meme coins. The corporate section is focused on utility. And people wonder why the corporate section is always 10 steps ahead. Because of that. While the retail section is on meme coins and lost about 80% of their gains, if you think about it, because of Roaring Kitty, the corporate section were buying the projects that had utility. This is why the corporate section is 10 steps always ahead. I said this for the longest time. I said the retail section are too focused on meme coins right now, when the main purpose of cryptocurrencies is utility. And the corporates were buying utility. Retail section was buying meme coins. Meme coins are about 80% down, 70% down, some of them 95% down in the retail section. And the other bullish news was the corporate section are removing their assets off exchanges at the same time as everybody else in the retail section was panicking. And the ETF inflows, extremely still bullish. The money's still coming in, inflowing from crypto for the corporates. That's the bullish side of it. As long as the corporate money is there and the regulations come through, we're all good. Which more corporates are coming in, more money is going to be inflowing as well, and more regulations are on the way. So we're still on the good side, and part two is still brewing. Have a great one. Take care, Miles and CMF. Ray, see you tomorrow as usual as well, brother. Thank you, Miles and CMF. See you tomorrow. Mike, see you tomorrow, brother, as usual. Thanks, Miles, for another great live. Good night, and see you tomorrow. Adi, see you tomorrow as usual as well. Good night, Miles and CMF. See you tomorrow. Orphan, see you tomorrow as usual as well. We have reached the endings of tonight's live show as well, and I have some acquaintances to meet tomorrow for CoinMove. Supposed to meet him today, but never got time to, so we'll meet him tomorrow. What's up, Miles? Main, good to see you as well, brother. How you doing? Main, you joined at the endings of this live show, but good to see you, brother. How you doing? How you been? I'll do it just on what we talked about tonight's live show. Basically, we talked about BitGo's CEO essentially giving his perspectives on the markets. Within 6 months, a lot of things are going to be happening, which I agree with. A lot of things are still on the table. The second news we went for tonight's live show was regarding the BTC inflows. It's still happening, even the market is down. The third news we went through is the investor interest from the corporate section. It's still there. They're still buying, they're still holding, they're removing more assets off exchanges while everybody else was panic selling. The next news we went through on tonight's live show was regarding Australia's massive blockchain event that's coming up, about 80 plus speakers. The next news we went through on tonight's live show was Binance, 200 million users with over $100 billion in assets, which is amazing to see because it shows the adoption rate happening more in the retail section as well. The next news we went through was Ripple Labs and Georgia's central bank having multiple conversations together. Is Georgia going to be pretty much the next country to come out after parallel using CBDC platform that Ripple has announced? The next news we went through on tonight's live show was the end of cash in Europe, that the EU is genuinely getting ready to release up to a certain level their digital euro. The next news we talked about on tonight's live show was regarding the crypto executive giving out warnings of the MiCA regulations. The next news on tonight's live show we talked about was Arkham Labs talking about the US government essentially seizing cryptocurrencies and not giving it back, essentially not reimbursing it to the people that lost money on FTX. Then we talked about how 7 out of 10 failed cryptocurrency exchanges are pretty much in South Korea, but still strong sentiment coming out of South Korea. A lot of the retail section is still in play. Then we talked about the 2024 elections and regarding how we can influence the SEC. Then we talked about the former Ripple director, how essentially mentioning that the company needs to make new acquisition, that Ripple needs to start making a new acquisition, in other words. Then we talked about on tonight's live show regarding the American crypto advocacy movement with over 1 million politicians behind it. Good night, Miles and CMF. Coin, see you tomorrow sometime as usual. Thank you, Miles, CMF. All take care. Good one. Let's go, Kim. Kim, see you tomorrow sometime as usual as well. Thanks, Miles. Great live. See you all tomorrow. Jason, see you tomorrow sometime as usual as well. I'll see everybody tomorrow. We have reached the end of tonight's live show. And that was the gist of what we talked about. Thank you, Miles. Enjoy the rest of the weekend, Miles and CMF. Let's go. Shelly, see you tomorrow as usual as well. You too, enjoy your weekend. So, if this was your first time watching, you enjoy this live show, and you want to tune in every single night to it, you can. It's called the CMF Live Show. I do this live show every single night on X, on YouTube, 11:25 p.m. onwards, UK time. You can always tune into this live show. We talk about recent news that's happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, AI, regulations, and politics. You tune into this live show every single night and getting extremely informed of what's happening around the world and how we're shifting into a digital era, and we do Q&As as well. So drop a like, drop a follow if you're watching us on X, if you're watching us on YouTube, and we have our own Telegram group as well called Crypto Mouse Family, which anyone is more than welcome to join the Crypto Mouse Family on Telegram. Amazing place to be, and completely free as well. Good night, good Miles and family. Troy, see you tomorrow as usual as well. Funky brother, see you tomorrow as usual as well. Good night, Miles. I'll see everybody tomorrow, same time as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you're on. CMF, I'll see you all tomorrow, same timing as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you're around the world. And Maine, it was good to see you, brother. And Tanner, it was good to see you as well. I'll see everybody tomorrow, same time as usual. Have a great day, have a great night, or depending on where you're around the world.